Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 4th episode of Fridays on the Farm. This week on Fridays on the Farm, we're going to be learning about our processing plant and how our milk gets from our barn all the way up here and how it gets into our bottles and to our kitchen table.
We transport our milk through a tank truck that we can drive from the barn to the plant's raw bay. We pick up milk several times a week, and we have many different trucks. The smallest one can fit 2,200 gallons. All of our employees who pick up raw milk and transport raw milk need a milk handler's license. With this license, they can take samples of the milk. The first step in transporting the milk is to measure how much milk is in the tank. The second step is to hook up the truck to the machine and plug it in to get ready to pump the milk into the tank truck. Here we see Chipman plugging in the truck so that the milk can be pumped from the tank into the truck. Each milk batch we have to sample in our laboratory, so here you see Chipman taking a sample. This is to test the bacteria count of the milk and to make sure our milk is free of antibiotics. Since all milk is tested, you never have to worry about antibiotics being in your milk. After testing the milk, Chipman can open the valves to the tank and the milk truck and have the milk be pumped into the truck from the tank. If we were treating a cow with antibiotics, we would separate her milk into a separate bucket, and that milk would get dumped instead of being put in with the other cow's milk. Once the tank is emptied, we can unhook the hose and bring it back to the tank truck. Then we have to clean out the machine to get it ready for the next milking. It is very important that we keep all of our trucks clean as well as our milk tanks so that we don't have any problems with contamination. Once the tank is filled with milk, it can then be backed up into our raw bay.
So once the truck gets into our raw bay, so this is called the raw bay where our truck backs up into it, you guys can see the pipes that line the walls, and that's what pumps the milk into the processing plant. So once the tank is emptied, we have a big cleaner at the top of the ceiling that lowers down into the tank, and it spins around with hot soapy water, and it will clean out the inside of the tank. So now that we're in the processing plant, do you guys know that there are different types of milk? Do you guys have an idea of what those might be? Well, we offer 3 different kinds. So we offer a whole milk, we offer a low fat, which is a 1.5%, and we offer fat-free, which is skim. Now, the next stop in the processing plant goes through this machine. So this machine is called a separator, and the job of this machine is to separate the milk into different types of milk. So it's basically just a giant centrifuge. So it spins around really fast and separates the milk out. And from there, the milk goes into 3 different tanks. So the milk goes into these 2 tanks right here, and these are our raw tanks. So it means that the milk is unprocessed so far. So we usually have whole milk and skim milk that live in here. And then over here in this tank, right in the middle, this is where we keep our heavy cream. So from the raw tanks, the milk gets heated up using this machine right here, and then the milk will travel to these 3 vats. Now, what happens in these vats is called pasteurization. Can you guys say pasteurization? Good job! Now what does that mean? So basically, it just means that we're heating up our milk to kill any bad bacteria in there that could make us sick. So the type of pasteurization we use here is called vat pasteurization. And it's a little bit different than some of the larger plants, which use a process called flash pasteurization. And flash pasteurization, they heat the milk to a higher temperature for a shorter amount of time. But with vat pasteurization, we do it at a temperature of 147 degrees for half an hour. So what that does to the milk, it kind of keeps the integrity of the milk intact, which ends up being a creamier, tastier product, and it keeps more of the sugars and the good bacteria and the proteins in there. The next step in our processing plant, the milk will travel through this crazy machine right here. So this machine is called the homogenizer. And what this machine does is does a process called homogenization. Can you guys say homogenization? Good job. Now, what does that word mean? So what this machine does is it pushes the milk through a tiny, tiny hole. The milk has what's called butter fat in there. And by pushing the milk through a tiny hole in a high pressure system, that allows the butter fat to break up into smaller pieces so it sits evenly throughout the milk. Now, if we didn't homogenize our milk, we would get what is called a cream plug on the top. Have you guys ever heard the saying, the cream rises to the top? So that's where it comes from unhomogenized milk. Similar to salad dressing, you know when water and oil separates out? If we didn't homogenize our milk, the fat would just rise up to the top because it's less dense than the milk itself. After the milk is homogenized, we have to cool the milk back down because it's hot. It's gone through the pasteurization and the homogenization. But as we learned in the barn, the ideal temperature for milk is 36 degrees. So this is just a giant cooler, and this will cool the milk down. And from here, the milk will travel into this tank over here. So this is the holding tank where the milk waits to get put into bottles. And there are 4 separate tanks within this one tank. So we can have 4 different types of milk in there at a time, depending on how much we're processing that day. So here we have one of our glass bottles, and if you've been to the farm or if you get home delivery, the majority of our milk is in our glass bottles. Now, why would we use glass bottles, you ask? Well, for 2 major reasons. We can reuse this bottle over and over again until it breaks. So that helps us to lower our plastic waste, and it also keeps our milk fresher a little bit longer than if it was in a plastic bottle. Since we have glass bottles that we reuse, we have to clean them before we reuse them, right? So this is our bottle washer, and this is where our dirty bottles get placed. And when the machine is running, the machine takes the bottles into the machine. It cleans and sanitizes them. And once they're all clean and sanitized, they get put onto this conveyor belt. The machine will dump it out here, and they travel into the processing plant where you guys will see the milk, the bottles get filled, they'll get capped, and then they'll get an expiration date sprayed on them. So this right here washes all our milk crates before we reuse them. So while our bottles are getting washed, our milk crates also get washed and rinsed. So they travel down the conveyor belt, and once they're cleaned, they travel into the refrigerator where you guys will see Aaron filling them with our freshly packed bottles, and from there they'll go into our farm store or out on our home delivery trucks.
Here we see Patrick loading and washing our quart bottles to make half and half milk. We can fit 390 half-gallon bottles into the machine at a time. The bottles are washed and sanitized at 145 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. After being cleaned, the bottles are put on the conveyor belt and they are brought into the milk plant. Our milk is then brought to the capping and filling station. Here you see our bottles being filled with half and half, or our table cream, and then they are being capped. They get a green cap because of the milk or cream that is in the glass. Right now, since it is half and half, we have the green table cream labels. The color of the cap tells our customers and our workers what is inside the bottle. This machine is spraying an expiration date on the milk. Recently, we've been spraying on sayings as well as the expiration date. It is important to note that in this video, we are in the walk-in refrigerator. This is where the milk is stored before it goes into our store or onto our trucks for home delivery. This refrigerator is kept at 34 degrees, which is a good explanation as to why Aaron is wearing a sweatshirt in the midst of all this heat that we're having.
To make sure that our milk is the highest quality possible, we need to make sure that we feed our cows a high quality forage and feed. So I want to thank everyone for watching, and tune in next week for Fridays on the Farm, where we'll discuss what we feed our cows. If you guys have any questions, please comment below, and we'll see you next week.